Welcome to Loyal to the Soil. My name is Chico. I will be covering some of the things that I see today. First, we're going to start with Donald Trump and his coverage of Washington, D.C., and his potential coverages of other mainstream cities throughout the United States. Also, I want to talk about Stephen Jackson and Matt Barnes from All of the Smoke, and a couple of other things, but those are my main two topics today. I'm a positive person, so I look at things from a positive lens, and I try to give the best feedback possible so people can understand how not to move. What gives me this idea or the quote unquote right to even speak on these things. Life experience, in my opinion. I'm 46 years old. I've been to prison. I've been to college. I've been through a lot of storms. I've been through a lot of positive things. And the one thing that I realize is that the universe is comedic. It gives you what you give it. So let's start with All the Smoke. So recently, I've been watching a lot of podcasters and a lot of basically podcasters in this segment, because we're talking about Nori, we're talking about Tony Parker, we're talking about Corey Holcomb, and they all speak on Stephen Jackson or Matt Barnes. And there are a couple other people. It wasn't necessarily Corey Holcomb, it was his guest host. My whole thing about this is, why does everybody have a negative opinion of Stephen Jackson and Matt Barnes? I look at Matt Barnes first. On the surface, he seems like a good guy, but when you take a deeper look, he's a family guy, great father from, aesthetics. And he could be a great father in real life. But after that, it's just all bad. And you wonder why these guys weren't starters in the NBA. You wonder why these guys never made an all-star game, never really flourished in the NBA like they were supposed to. Why people didn't pass the ball. Well, I'll tell you why. Attitude. Every time somebody has something to say, not even negatively, but just kind of defending themselves or giving their own opinion, you guys have to come back with something violent or something that isn't positive. And one of those instances was with a guy from a podcast from Houston, and he tried to belittle his podcast. And I like his podcast. I think that he's very informative. I think that he's unbiased. I believe that this brother is working hard independently. I love his platform. He doesn't do too much. He just gives you what it is. But Stephen Jackson took it personal, and he wanted to slander this man's name, slander his podcast, degrade him and other podcasters because Stephen Jackson has a better platform, quote unquote, more money, quote unquote, and more resources. Never mind the grind, never mind what others have put in, you want to put yourself on top. Well, I'm going to tell you something. The bigger they are, the harder they fall. You can do all of the things that you're doing and you think you're successful, but your anger problem and your violent streak will destroy you. And I want you guys to see, I'm forecasting here. I'm giving you a perspective that I've seen play out time and time again. Your ego whether it be someone like Gilbert Arenas, who I love. Like, I respect Gilbert, but I also see a part of Gilbert that he can't get under control, his ego. Everything is Gilbert, 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 and I'm not getting on Gilbert, but that is just one of the many examples of people with ego that fall from grace in some shape, way, shape, or form. Matt Barnes, same thing. Anger problem. Anger problem, anger problem. That's why Derek Fisher winded up with your significant other. That's why you always have beef with other people. Look how you treated Kobe Bryant. And then you talking about, oh, it's cool now. Anybody who's ever tried to hit me with a basketball, all bets are off. If you fake try to flinch hit me, all bets are off. We never cool again. Because once you show me disrespect, it's not about me at that point. You're just disrespectful. And I don't care if you work that out within yourself or not. I'm not here to forgive you. Because I've already given you the respect, the loyalty, and understanding that you deserve. So, I view it as you saw me as weak. And that's the last thing I am. And now I believe that Matt Barnes and Steven Jackson are now beefing. I watched their podcast just to sneak in and take a look, and what I've noticed is they've been separate for a while. Now, I don't know what's going on, but that's how I feel about it. That's what I'm seeing. Moving on to the future, I guarantee you that they'll separate and that there'll be more things to come from a negative aspect from Steven Jackson, especially, and Matt Barnes. Just look at the big three and how Steven Jackson conducts himself. Now, moving on to Donald Trump. I don't like to do politics, but obvious is obvious. I feel like there's a bigger plan that ain't good. It's something about, I heard something about a smart cities, basically concentration camps. I heard it about 3 years ago, and I did my studying, and now here we are. It started in LA. They were deploying National Guards. Rightfully so, in my opinion. They was tearing that sucker up. But now here in DC, I don't get it. I live in Washington, D.C. As you can see behind you, I'm a Washingtonian. I live and bleed D.C. That's why this podcast is called Loyal to the Soil. I believe that there's a bigger plot, not plan. They already planned it out. Now they're plotting and twisting. Now they're putting their plan into action. Excuse me. And what I want the public at large to know is that they're coming. They're talking about UFOs and, I mean, come on, man. What I want you guys to do is just go and look at the Blue Beam Project and tell me what you think. And then I want you to go and look at modern day concentration camps. If you pay attention, they're only really kicking out of this country Haitians and Hispanic people. What happened to the Chinese people that came to this country? What happened to those other foreigners that we should be petrified of? Stay locked in and keep your head on the swivel. Because it won't be your fellow man that's going to get you. It's going to be that government. I pray for everybody. I hope everybody's doing well. Please like, subscribe. I'll be doing a video every week. Every week about things that are a little off topic, but are right in your face. One more topic, Stephen A. Smith. Stephen A. Smith. A lot of Stevens this morning. Wow. Dude. Everybody that comes onto your show is getting locked up. Gilbert Arenas, the twins, Markeith Morris, and the other guy, I don't know which one got locked up, but they were both on your show. The big one is Shannon Sharpe. And I'm pretty sure there's one more I can throw in there. I just can't come up with the top of my head. There's a word out there called boule. Pay attention, y'all. I'm not saying the man's boule. I'm not saying he police. But it just seems like these podcasts, Vlad TV, Stephen A. Smith, everybody that go on their show seems to be in hot water in one way or another. And it's one more show out there in LA with that porn star dude. I don't know. Let me ask y'all a question. What do you see in this white boy? What makes him so gangster that gangsters keep running up there and talking to him? I tell you what it is. Lack of intelligence. Trying to get to a bag. And he ain't paying you shit. Excuse me. He ain't paying you nothing. You're going on a podcast to sell out your own community to him and Vlad TV. Let's wake up, man. Let's start working together and stop tearing each other down. I look at these Bloods and the Crips, and God bless y'all. Individually, stand-up guys. But together as a whole, y'all running amok. Man, what the